As British citizens, we all recognise that our fundamental right to free speech is facing a serious challenge. The ability to voice our thoughts, opinions, and concerns freely, without the threat of censorship or suppression, is a fundamental pillar of any democratic society. Yet, in recent years, we've witnessed an alarming trend where speech is increasingly monitored and restricted, especially across social media platforms. In the United States, there has been significant resistance to these threats against free expression, particularly following the last administration. Efforts are underway to prevent American citizens from being silenced by big tech corporations, government overreach, or media bias. Now, similar discussions are taking shape here in the UK and throughout Europe. The momentum is shifting. In today's video, we'll be analysing comments from a key member of Donald Trump's team as they highlight and confront these issues in Britain and across Europe.
I heard his speech, and I tell you, you're talking about JD's speech, right?
Yes, sir.
I heard his speech, and he talked about freedom of speech, and I think it's true in Europe. It's losing. They're losing their wonderful right of freedom of speech. I see it. I mean, I thought he made a very good speech, actually, a very brilliant speech. Yeah. Europe has to be careful. And he talked about immigration. And Europe has a big immigration problem. Just take a look at what's happened with crime. Take a look at what's happening in various parts of Europe. I thought his speech was very well received, actually. I've heard very good remarks.
And unfortunately, when I look at Europe today, it's sometimes not so clear what happened to some of the Cold War's winners. I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content. Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet, a day of action. I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder. And as the judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief. And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person, but no. This last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law. Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizens suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat. I believe there is nothing more urgent than mass migration. Today, almost 1 in 5 people living in this country moved here from abroad. That is, of course, an all-time high. It's a similar number, by the way, in the United States, also an all-time high. The number of immigrants who entered the EU from non-EU countries doubled between 2021 and 2022 alone, and of course it's gotten much higher since. And we know the situation, it didn't materialize in a vacuum. It's the result of a series of conscious decisions made by politicians all over the continent and others across the world over the span of a decade. We saw the horrors wrought by these decisions yesterday in this very city. And of course, I can't bring it up again without thinking about the terrible victims who had a beautiful winter day in Munich ruined. Our thoughts and prayers are with them and will remain with them. But why did this happen in the first place? It's a terrible story, but it's one we've heard way too many times in Europe and unfortunately too many times in the United States as well. An asylum seeker, often a young man in his mid-20s, already known to police, rams a car into a crowd and shatters a community. How many times must we suffer these appalling setbacks before we change course and take our shared civilization in a new direction? No voter on this continent went to the ballot box to open the floodgates to millions of unvetted immigrants.
In other news, a man has avoided prison after hurling a brick while defending a mosque during last year's riots. Ibrahim Mir of Barnet Drive, Cobridge, was caught on CCTV throwing a brick into the road, where it struck a metal railing near Town Road in Hanley, Stoke-on-Trent. Footage obtained by Stoke-on-Trent Live showed him wearing a balaclava near the mosque. The video captured him discarding the object, keeping it away from bystanders and police before fleeing with a group of men. Mir surrendered himself to authorities on September 28th, 56 days after the August 3rd riot, which erupted in response to murders in Southport. He later admitted to violent disorder and was handed a 20-month prison sentence, suspended for 2 years. Prosecutor Fiona Cortese pointed out that Mir, a university student, had been on bail since last month after turning himself in nearly 5 months prior. In his defence, Martin Bloor stated that Mir had no prior trouble with the law, was entering his 3rd year at university and held a part-time job. Bloor also emphasised Mir's commitment to caring for his critically ill brother. Judge Graham Smith referenced the July 29th attack at a dance school in Southport, where 3 young girls were tragically killed. False information about the attacker's background led to violent protests, including in Hanley. Addressing Mir, the judge stated, "You were part of an opposing group. Protests and petitions are legitimate, but violence is not. You wore a balaclava, possibly to conceal your identity, but your involvement was minimal. Given your otherwise good character and family responsibilities, I hope you move forward in a positive way." In other news, King Charles has announced he has retired from skiing, telling a Swiss worker during a visit to Middlesbrough that his skiing days are behind him. The 76-year-old monarch, who is currently undergoing weekly cancer treatment, made the comment while touring CAH Wind, the world's largest offshore wind turbine factory. A devoted skier for nearly 50 years, Charles first took up the sport at 14 and frequently travelled to the prestigious Swiss resort of Klosters, where cable cars were even named in his honour. His final scheduled ski trip was called off in 2023 to avoid any risk of injury ahead of his coronation. During the same visit, the king was delighted to receive a Valentine's Day card from a young girl who called him the best king ever. So, what do you think about today's discussion? Share your thoughts in the comments below.